This video is going to cover the customizable quote listing. The customizable quote listing is found under the Projects section, Reports menu, as well as under the Quotes section in the Reports menu. They both have the same functionality. The general features of all the customizable reports and quotes, orders, invoices, and payments are covered in a separate video. This video will cover specifics to quotes only. The first feature you can use is selection. This pulls up a search dialog that is the same as the find dialog on the main projects and quotes page. In selection, you have on the basic tab, you have these general text fields that you can enter search criteria. For example, if you want to look for all projects that start with the word Cabot, you could do that. Actually, you would want to do that for all quotes that start with Cabot. Location of the project, again, a free text field where you can use wildcards like asterisks. The location state, the quote number, and in this one you do not need to enter the number sign like you do when you're searching for a project over here. You just enter the quote number directly. You do not need to enter the year as well. For example, if you have a quote that's called test 15-1234, this prefix is not part of the quote number. This is the work group and the year. So all you would search for in this case is, pardon that pop-up, is 1234 in this case. Manufacturer quote, you can search for part numbers. Again, it's a free text field, so you can search for part numbers that start with FYV-1, and then everything else is under the asterisk. Fixture type from the type column on the items tab. The external code, which the external code is, I gotta close that out real quick. External code comes from this field in a project, and file code you'll see right down there is what comes to this field. Create date, update date, and bid date are self-explanatory. The new date time selection features allow you to select there, and you can pick any category. You can also pick a specific year and month. You can pick a specific day. Scroll through the days and select the day. Or you can type in, like in this case, we want to just type 610. Yeah, either way you want to do it. And that's create dates from the create date of the bid, the last date it was updated, the bid date that's been entered. You can use this to select any quotes that have a blank bid date, and this to use the original bid date in case the bid date has changed. You can search for active and inactive. You can search for reports that have been checked for specified and spec registration and bid board. Those pull from these fields: specified, spec registration, and bid board. You can add customer ranks that you've already loaded in, as well as the quote statuses. You can choose to search for daily quotes, simple quotes, or an actual project bid. The money tab, these are number fields where you can enter in, I want to look for quotes that have a minimum sell of, for example, $500, or a maximum sell of 1 million. You could choose any, up to 3 levels, as well as the earnings on those. In the internal tab, you can search for quotes by specific quoter, by specific sales account, if they have no sales account, and when sales accounts do not add up to 100%. The CSR on the quote, the customer assigned to, which is in the customer settings, what sales account they're assigned to, what specifier, in that specifier settings, what sales account they're assigned to, if they've been assigned a follow-up, and if they're assigned a work group. Apologies for that pop-up again. You can also check to search for any that are locked. Locked pulls from this field, where if you have a quote that is locked, that will pull those up. On the Parties tab, you can search for these type of parties: manufacturer, parent manufacturer, and this is only for manufacturers that are selected as a parent manufacturer in their settings, and it will pull the quotes that are assigned to that parent manufacturer and any child brands that are merged to that parent. Same thing with customers. You can do contractors and representatives as well. On the submittal tabs, you can search for any that has a submittal. You can do a RA date, which is the return for approval date, and the submitted on date. The return for approval date comes from the top right on the bid, return for approval date. You can go by specifiers. You can use which specifiers are on a quote. You can use which specifiers have influences. And when we mean influences, we're talking about down here, which ones have an actual influence that's loaded. You can use specific roles, your architects, engineers, and the like, specific specifiers. Customer and quote assign cells. If it has a specifier, you can search for all quotes that have a specifier or all that have no specifier. You can search for the low general contractor, low electrical contractor, or low distributor fields, which come from these fields right here. You can search for free text on notes and internal notes. Again, the wildcards work. So any note that has the word Cabot in it. You can search for attachment descriptions, notes, colors, and categories. And finally, any user-defined search keys that have been built into your database by your company, you can search for those. Next is the grouping button. We've covered most of the features of the grouping button on the general video for customizable reports. However, specific to quotes, you'll notice that the fields available are unique to quotes. So you won't have any invoice fields on here, for example, on a quote listing. Just as a reminder, you can, when you add any item, let's add we'll just use grouping by quoter. On some fields, you do not allow you to adjust values, and that's because there is only one quoter on there, so there's no reason to adjust values for it. But if you did, let's do manufacturer, and let me remove quoter. You can adjust values, and that means basically that's saying that for a manufacturer, you could have multiple manufacturers on a quote, and you may want to adjust values to show that I just want to see manufacturer one's items, and then in another grouping manufacturers two totals, and they don't duplicate. If you didn't adjust values in this case, manufacturer one would have the quote total and manufacturer two would have the quote total, not just their individual parts. And you can you can page rank between manufacturers or whatever you're grouping by. The same fields that you could search for are also in here. For example, the low distributor or the low electrical contractor and so forth. Sorting works very similar from the general video. It's just specific fields that are in here for quotes. These are the default settings, but if you add, for example, let's add group by part number, it will allow you to, this is the sort field. Allows you to sort by certain features in the report. Depending on what you add to this report in the layout and grouping, this listing of fields can change. In the filter section, you'll notice that it shows part number here, and that's because I have part number here. But if I added, let's add engineer to the grouping, you'll notice now engineer is here. For certain fields, it'll allow you to select specific entries that are in Oasis. For example, engineer, you have specific engineers in Oasis. However, you could have free text engineers you've manually typed in and not selected. Or in the case of part numbers, those are free text fields. You don't select those. And so those are the two different kinds of ways to enter filters. And then finally on layout, we've covered most of the details in this in a prior video, but you have the layout of the report, if it's portrait, landscape, or legal, what fields you have in columns across the top, and what fields are displayed in their own row. You have row breaks that you can add in as needed, and you have fields that are unique to quotes on this side. Finally, you have the feature to show totals only, and that is if you don't want to see the individual lines or quotes in this case, you just want to see the totals. So I'm grouping by, let me adjust this, grouping by manufacturer, and I'll have to open this up a little bit. Let's go this year. There's still none. Let's clear these. Okay, so I got 5 records now. 5 records that are going to get pulled in, and I want to group by manufacturers, and I want to show totals only. This will give you an idea. Now it's just going to show Alpha Omega's totals only, as opposed to running it this way, Alpha Omega, quote number, first one, the items. So you got the quote number. So it just depends on how you want to view that.